Today we're going to be working on your human portrait. It's on page 5 and 6 in your drawing packet. And you'll notice on page 5 we have a little bit of a guide to help us draw just a very generic face. So I'm going to save the other half of page 5 if you would like to go back and try it again, or if you make a mistake on page 6, then you can go back and draw on page 5. But for your actual portrait and for this video, we're going to use page 6 to do our drawing. So I'm going to take my 4H pencil and we're just going to start by dividing up our face into equal parts here. And the first step is to draw a vertical line halfway through from left to right. I'm just drawing the midline of the face. Then I'm going to draw a horizontal line halfway from the top to the bottom. So this is going to create our eye line. So if you need to turn your paper, you can turn your paper to draw your line. It's okay if you use sketch lines, you just want to draw it nice and light. And now we're going to start breaking up the face to get our proportions for where our facial features are going to go. So for the eyes, your face is actually 5 eyeball widths wide. So in order to make equal widths, I like to start from my midline here. I just kind of guess a little bit out away from that midline, and then I'm going to take, and you should be able to just cut the space between your tick mark there to the edge of the head. You should be able to just kind of cut it in half. If you want to double check your measurement, you could do a little measuring like so you can stick the end of your pencil there, you can pinch it off on your tick mark, do a quick check. Mine are really pretty close, so it's okay if they're a little bit off. Again, you just want the general idea. So now that I have 5 tick marks, I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see a little bit closer. And we're going to make some ovals and kind of more like almond shaped eyes. So how you begin is, I like to start and always pull my pencil towards where I'm working to. So I'm going to start on the back part of the eye and curve it into the middle. And then we have a little tear duct. So that little tear duct is going to have kind of a little hook on the end. And then I have the bottom lid, so again I'm going to pull from the outside and bring it to the middle. So I'm always kind of pulling my pencil. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you don't have to worry about getting your eyeballs perfectly matched. It'll still look okay if they're a little bit off. Again, you want to add your little tear duct and then your bottom lid. So you notice I did it a little different on this one. You just decide what's comfortable for you, which direction you want to pull. But now I have my 2 eyes started. And again, if we want to do a quick measurement, I should have about 5 eyeball widths wide. So that looks pretty good. So now we're going to start breaking up the head into the proportions to find where our nose, where our mouth, where our eyebrows, and where our hairline is. So looking at the verticals, okay, and our midline, on the bottom here, you're going to break it up into 3 equal parts. So you're just kind of looking at it, and if you want to do a quick check with your pencil, it looks pretty close. And so now I can do the same thing with the top. I'm also going to break that up into 3 equal parts. And what these lines represent are the bottom little line here is actually the bottom of the bottom lip. So you could write that off to the side. This second line up from the bottom is going to be the bottom of the nose. So I'm just writing bottom of nose. This line up above the eyes, this is actually the eyebrow line. I'm just going to write eyebrows. And then this one right here is actually where the hair goes. So this would be your hairline. And if I wanted to go back this middle line, this is your eye line. So now that I kind of have it mapped out, we can start our drawing of these different components. So I'm going to come back and do the pupils and the iris of the eyes in just a minute. But to start with our nose, how I like to start, I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see a little bit more. I like to create what I think of as like little bull horns. So we're drawing kind of a very squished, flat U. And it's kind of, as I say, it kind of reminds me of like really long bull horns. And the idea is that your nose, if you take your pencil and you put it on the side of your nose, you'll notice that it goes all the way out to where your tear duct is. So if I were to draw a straight line down from your tear duct, that's going to touch the side of your nose. So if you want to draw in these light little lines to give you a guide, you can. But with that, we're going to just finish out our nose with little parentheses. So when you do your little parentheses, you start up kind of where that little round piece of your nose is at, and you're going to curl it and tuck it just below where that little bullhorn came out. So they're not actually touching. And then you can extend your little bullhorn out if you feel like you need to. And then it's the same thing on the other side. So again, with these parentheses, they're kind of longer and then they kind of get squished at the bottom. But again, everyone has different nose shapes, so I'm just giving you a very simple guide for how you can draw a nose. Okay? For our lips, let's go down there. This is the bottom of the bottom lip, so I'm just going to move up just a little bit and I'm going to draw a little U for the midline, and then I'm going to draw a little U right above that for the little Cupid's bow for the top lip. Now again, guys, however much space you put between the bottom of the bottom lip and the midline, that'll determine how thick the lips are. The same thing with the top lip. So I'm going to keep my lips fairly thin, so I'm only leaving a little bit of space. If you want them to be thicker, hey, you could move them around a little bit. If you feel like that's a little high for your bottom lip, you could move that down. So you can kind of slightly change them as you need. But again, we just want to get like a general guide. So now what I'm going to start doing is drawing my lips out. Now, if you check the corner of your mouth, again, if you hold your pencil up to the side of your mouth, it'll go directly up into the middle of the pupil and the iris. So if we could imagine that there's a pupil and an iris right about in this area, we're going to draw little dashed lines down from the center of the eye, and that is going to be how wide your mouth actually goes. So after this little U here, I'm going to pull the line out, and if you want it to be smiling, you just curve it up just a little bit at the end, and then I draw it out the other way as well. So there's just a little gentle curve, and then if you want them to be smiling, you kind of flick it up right at the end. So it kind of looks like a very squished long M. And then it's the same thing for the top part of the lips. So if you want them to be really sharp Cupid lips, okay, you could make a nice sharp point there. If you want them to be softer or rounded, you would just round that M, and then you're going to pull it all the way out to the edge, okay, to create the corner of the mouth. Then you can go to the other side, same thing. So do your very best to get them to match. Okay. Now for the bottom of the lip, it's important, I think it works best not to start in the corner of the mouth, but actually to start at the bottom and curve it up and into the corner of the mouth. So if I have any archery people in here, if you turn the lips sideways, it kind of reminds me of like creating a bow. So you want to have that little bit of an arc up as you pull it in. So that creates my lips. Now again, I made it wider on the other side so I could come back and re-erase. Again, just trying to get those to match. So now that I have my lips, again, yours might look a little different than mine. We have a general guide. I'm going to now shift back up and I'm going to do my eyebrows. So for your eyebrows, you also need to do your little eyelid first. So you have a lid that your eyeball sits into your eye socket, and that goes from just above your tear duct up, and it's the same arch as your eye, and back to the back side of your eye. That creates your eyelid. So you do it on both sides. Now we have an eyelid. Some of you have little lids on the bottom, but we don't want to make ourselves look too old. So if you are doing like a grandparent, you would definitely put those lines in. If you have those wrinkles there, or if you have puffy eyes, you could put them in there. But for our purposes, we'll leave them off. Let's go to our eyebrows here. It's the same kind of concept here as your eyelid, but they're just going to be a little bit softer. And everyone, again, has different eyebrow shape. So if we're just keeping this very generic, it goes right above your tear duct here and out past your eye just slightly on the back side. So I'm just going to start by drawing just a pencil line first, just to give me a place to start mapping in my little hairs. So once I have my lines drawn, what's really cool about eyebrows is most of the time students try and just start going backwards. Now, unless you have your eyebrows drawn in or, you know, brushed in, most of the time eyebrows actually start by going up and inward first, and then they kind of start to go outward. And then once you get to like the edge of your little brow bone here, then they actually start to curve and go down and away from your face. So if you want to look at your neighbor, you can see that you'll notice how their eyebrow hairs change. So I'm going to keep kind of adding in some eyebrow hairs. Now, depending on how many times you overlap, you'll change the shape and thickness of the eyebrow. So now I'm going to kind of start pulling it over. Okay. So that looks pretty good for me, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. So starting flicking up and in, and then slowly flicking sideways, and eventually down and away from the face. So eyebrows and hair in general, when we get to hair, it's overlapping short little strokes to create more of that realistic hair look. Okay. So if I kind of want to even these out a little bit, I can add just a little bit more up top. And that looks pretty good right there. Okay, so now I have eyebrows done for my human. But I'm going to come back to hair here in just a little bit. We have our ears to put on. So when we look at our ears, if you draw a line with your finger from the edge of your eye out, you'll notice that it goes to the top part of your ear. So the top part of your ear connects with the eye line, but your ear actually goes up and above that just a little bit. As well as if you go from the bottom of your nose and you draw a line out, it goes to the bottom of your ear. So your ears connect from the bottom of the nose, and the top part of your ear connects to the eye line. So now that I have that kind of mapped out, I can go through, draw up, and then I can curve it around into like a little C, and then connect it to the side of the head. So again, everyone has different shaped ears, so if we're just doing kind of a generic one, you don't need to make it really wide out there. Let's put my little tick mark for the edge of my nose and curve just a little C in to make my ears. So to finish out my ears, I'm going to just scoot down just a little bit and draw just the top part of the ear. And then we have that little cartilage piece in the back, so I'm going to let this kind of fade away. Then you have kind of this little nub here on the inside. Some of you it's a little more prominent, others not so much. And then you've got an earlobe, and then this one also kind of goes towards the back and just kind of disappears. Inside you have that little bone and piece of cartilage. So when I go to draw that, I kind of make it like an upside down awkward L or hockey stick. So it just kind of sits in there like so. And I'll kind of scooch in here for this other side. So when I go to draw the other side, again, I'm just coming down just a little bit, and I'm going towards the back of the ear. It gets really, really skinny in the back. And then I kind of just let my line fade away. And then I go in, I draw my little nub there, and then my earlobe, and then that line kind of just fades away to the back. And then I draw my little awkward upside down hockey stick, okay, or L, to create that little cartilage piece that's inside the ear. Okay, so that is how you draw your ears. Now, just to finish out with your eyes are actually circles, and they're spheres. So when we go to draw our iris, right, for some of you, your iris will actually touch the bottom of the lid and not just the top. So you do have a little bit of your lid covering your iris, and then I'm going to draw it on the other side as well. And we'll finish out by just on the inside, you're going to draw another little circle. And that'll represent your pupil. Okay. From here, we're going to do a little bit of shading, but for right now, that is your very basic human portrait to get you started with contour drawings. All right.